Hey guys, I'm RozaldVaneGAME and welcome back to another episode of Vampyr. Last episode, we basically thought it was the last final episode of the series. I just was wrong. I got lost. I got lost exploring, but also got stuck because I wasn't sure what the hell I was doing for the buttons to progress, and I finally did it. Finally found the button to progress in the game. So we're here to trying to close it out completely this time. I'm a little bit better than I was the last episode. It's been a day. I took some more meds, and I was like, my throat was still kind of hurting a little bit, but my throat's a little bit better, I think. My brain's a little tired, but that's the case of me just being kind of like working on some stuff for a little bit. Not working like anything crazy major, but it's just like working on doing some weird personal stuff. But anyways, let's get into this game. Yeah, so we pick up an ancient tome and that was it. We're still looking for Ashbury in this space. And I kind of did sit around thinking about what I wanted to say for this game, but that will be when I get to the credits, when I can. Don't know how long or how much more this game has. I'm just very annoyed with how they're trying to slow the ending to be some sort of dramatic something. I feel like that's what this game is doing. Like, it's trying to make... Oh, am I stuck? Okay, no, I was stuck, but I was not walking back to somewhere properly. Yeah, so otherwise it's just like let's close this game out properly as much as possible and as quickly as possible because I really want to just close it out already.
Drop your sword, Father.
Father?
You have nothing to be afraid of.
It's probably King Arthur.
Shall we abandon this then?
Oh.
Shall we lower our heads?
No. Never. You taught me that.
Blood is approaching. Old but young. How strange. Shall I drink it? Smite it?
No, Father. He is a friend. Please, rest. I'll take care of it.
Caution, Elizabeth. Deceit runs through these veins.
You mean his veins?
I know, Father.
Or my vein?
What took you so long, Jonathan?
I got lost. What do you expect? Wait, don't tell me we're fighting.
Really him?
Yes. This is William Marshall, 1st Earl of Pembroke, servant of 5 mortal kings, former regent and saviour of England. The greatest knight who ever lived, according to some.
And you called him father?
For he gave me eternal life.
Oh, he sired her.
Much more.
I have so many questions, Elizabeth.
I guess that's true.
You always had questions, Dr. Reed.
Excuse me.
Now that I stand before you both, in this vault, I know not where to begin.
We still have a few minutes left.
A few minutes? For what? A few minutes for what? Are you saying that... Oh, maybe it's because she didn't know that we killed the Red Queen, or defeated the Red Queen. Not killed her. Defeated her. Defeated the Red Queen, shut down the infection. Or pandemic thing. Epidemic, whatever. And it's like... I guess that's what's going on? Let's see.
Where are we? What is this place?
This is the Ashbury estate. I inherited the title when I purchased the castle.
Is this your retreat? Something of a secret place?
It's more of a sanctuary, really. This is where I take care of my father. Ever since he became... unwell.
What happened to him anyways?
Are you not afraid someone might discover you here? It's not that hard to find.
Do not assume that I would hesitate to silence anyone who tried to reveal my secret. Fortunately, it has rarely come to that.
It also makes me wonder if this castle space is actually a real-life location or just a replica of a real-life location. I just haven't had that thought until now.
Why did you flee here?
Yeah.
When you told me I was the healthy carrier, I had nowhere else to go.
You mean you had to return to the real source of this scourge?
Yes.
Oh.
To end it, once and for all.
Interesting. So she wanted to kill the lineage, the original lineage of this whole epidemic situation.
Will you go back to London?
No, Jonathan. I do not intend to.
And what of your daughter?
Charlotte is a strong, independent woman who's about to come into money. I took care of everything.
Oh.
Now it's time for her to shape her future.
That's cool. I'm glad she's willing to give her daughter the money that she had in that mansion estate and everything that was taken up for that. But it's kind of strange, though, that she's abandoning everything, including herself, from whatever history she's brought upon that city.
I have destroyed the disaster, this creature that Harriet Jones had become. The epidemic is no more, and London will recover. In time.
True?
Yes. You did well, Jonathan. You truly saved the city.
But...
Yes, we did. Despite all obstacles. I'm truly convinced we did it together.
No.
I cannot bear knowing I was the cause of all this.
Yeah.
Through the use of my own blood.
No. This catastrophe was the result of unethical experimentation.
True.
And the will of a creature so inexplicably evil, she exceeds all the terrible wonders I have seen since my death.
But it was my blood all along. My corrupted blood of hate. The poisoned blood of my father. A healthy carrier. That's all I am.
I don't think that's true, though. Because they stated that the blood that coursed in Harriet was the same bloodline from the Red Queen. And in that case, whoever had hatred would technically fuel that Red Queen's blood to be more towards the hatred that she was all about back then. So I think that the blood doesn't matter. It's just the fact that the blood needs to not land on that type of person again. Which is different than shutting it down altogether, I think.
Why are you hiding William Marshall here?
How could I not take care of him? He sacrificed himself by giving me the only dose of antidote he had.
Huh?
He gave you the antidote?
Yes. And in doing so, he knew he'd have to be confined here. And yet he volunteered. That's how great a man William Marshall was. And still is.
I'm confused by that.
What do you do for him?
I visit him as often as possible. I paint the landscapes he will never see again.
Oh.
I feed him with my blood.
You feed him? You barely sustain yourself on the weak blood of the dying, yet
True.
you give him your blood?
After he saved me from the blood rage, I swore I would never kill to feed. He said the same.
That is... very strange.
Is he dangerous?
What do you think? He is a thirsty Ekon who has not fed in centuries. An elder vampire, driven by an urge to kill and spread the blood of hate.
No redemption, then.
And yet he thinks he has been offered immortality by the angels to protect the feeble and to smite the unholy.
Can he communicate?
Yes. Sometimes he even seems like the noble knight who saved and raised me. But you know, the malice never fully leaves his eyes.
That's funny that this is a stupid choice. I mean, it's a stupid choice because we literally just saw him talk to Lady Ashbury in a low, slow breath. It's like, why are you asking that stupid question there?
We could cure him.
It's too late. The blood of hate has run for too long. The antidote would not work on him.
True.
I tried. Believe me, I tried.
Yeah, I think it's true because it's his own blood, so it makes no sense that he... But then if he gets killed... Here's the thing, if he gets killed, that means that there's no antidote for anybody else, but technically it means that she needs to kill herself on top of that, because she needs to end her blood lineage on top of William Marshall's blood lineage, because she doesn't want to be the next victim of his sort of passing on.
William Marshall infected you. He is the true original carrier.
Yes. But he saved me by sacrificing himself.
Saved you? How?
The tears of angels. The cleansing of impure blood by an older, more powerful blood. It worked on me, did it not?
Yes. Blood is the definitive key to our species. Scowls, cleansing, lineage. Do you really think it worked?
It has, Jonathan. I was nothing but a beast who took pleasure in slaughter. I roamed across Europe, reaping my bloody crop. It was the blood of hate. But my father's antidote cured me.
Oh, so she was the original blood. She was originally the person who was the carrier for the Red Queen. But due to William Marshall's interjection of his antidote, Lady Ashbury basically turns into a more normal person again. Or more normal Vecon, basically. But as soon as stupid Swansea, don't want to call him that, but he has to be stupid for that reason, for taking her blood and putting it into someone else, somebody else basically revitalized that problem that that like destroyed Ashbury. Okay, that makes a lot more sense now.
Who are you, really?
How could I answer that? I went through many lives and identities to reach this day. To you, I am Elizabeth Ashbury, and that's all I wish to be.
That's fair. You know, I do respect your privacy, though.
I understand. And I respect your desire for privacy.
Thank you, Jonathan.
I'm not gonna press on. I don't think it matters, I think, too much. Because I don't know what's the point of getting to know her secrets. Maybe I can look it up, I guess, but I don't really think it matters as much.
How did you meet William Marshall?
He was an Ekon for centuries when he found me. He saved me from certain death by making me his progeny.
Makes sense?
Why did he choose you?
You should ask him that.
Oh, so we get to talk to him too? Ugh.
Did you ever blame him?
Not even when he was infected and bit me.
Ah.
He is my father. He raised me. He taught me how to behave.
So that means that she was a little girl when that happened? Or was she like younger looking and that was like what it was?
What about us?
What do you mean?
You know my feelings towards you, Elizabeth. But you left without a word. So I'm worried about your feelings towards me.
I love you, Jonathan. I've loved you since the moment I saw you rescue poor Mr. Hampton in that filthy slaughterhouse. Forgetting the danger as you turned your back, like the newborn fool you were.
Wow. She's insulting me at the same time praising/complimenting me. That's so weird.
You should have told me.
No, Jonathan. The William Marshall myth lies at the heart of so many hostile plans. I could not risk jeopardizing his safety.
So why did you come here? You knew I would follow you. I can't let you go.
Because I know now the blood of hate is still in my veins.
True.
No one but I can put an end to this tragedy.
I can help you. You can trust me, Elizabeth.
I know, Jonathan. You have been the most loyal ally these last few weeks. But this is my duty.
Would your protege agree to speak with me? I have so many questions for him.
No.
on,
So much
But
questions.
be careful.
Huh? Be careful. Oh yeah, because he stated that he's deceitful still. He himself is very deceitful. Man, William looks so
Yes.
weird.
So, William. My God. You really are William Marshall. You served Richard the Lionheart and his brother, King John. It is such a privilege to meet you.
I did in my day. Come closer if you want to speak. For my hearing isn't what it used to be.
I think your hearing is fine, sir.
Yeah.
What is it you want then?
The more things to. Oh.
I found your research on the antidote. The tears of the angels. What ingredients did you use?
Once I understood what the ingredients were, I used the tears of King Richard and the pure blood of the valiant Boadicea.
Interesting.
King Richard and Boadicea? How did you find such relics?
It took me many years to locate their hiding place. Then I had to learn the formula. If I recall, it belonged to an ancient brotherhood. The Order of St. Paul, I believe.
I would not be surprised if King Arthur is still alive somehow, because there's no way that they could still produce DNA from King Arthur's liquids. Tears or blood, whatever. It's like, how the hell do you still have those?
And did it work?
Yes. The tears cleansed my poor Elizabeth's blackened heart. It was such a blessing to see her smile again.
Okay. Also, there's a fire in the background, and I just realized, why the hell is it still burning the way it does? But...
I found and defeated the disaster that was threatening to smite London. You should know that the city is safe for now, Sir William.
Then may I call you brother? Did you resist its poison?
Of course.
Even a scratch from a beast so evil could endanger you and all those you care for.
I mean, I took your antidote.
You also defeated one in 1666. Who was it?
She was a malicious witch who spread plague throughout the city with her army of rats.
Ooh.
She had been hiding in a bakery in Pudding Lane for months when I finally found her.
You know, I kind of think that if they had a game in mind, they should have probably went with William Marshall's game. A game about William Marshall and how he tried to defeat the Pudding Lane witch. Even though the Pudding Lane sounds kind of a funny name in general.
How did you defeat it?
We fought for hours.
Oh, never mind.
In the end, I had to lock her in St. Paul's Cathedral and burn the building down. I wanted to be sure she was destroyed.
Yeah, never mind. Because it would be such a linear game, because they would want to have something similar to this game in Vampyr, where you're able to make a choice on how you defeat that witch, but seeing how you already explained how you did it kind of made it not as interesting.
The blood of hate. How does it affect you? Do you feel it now?
The blood of hate? Yes. Nothing more than a sneeze, really. A sneeze held for so long, you could blow a fortress down if you released it.
So he's kind of like, it's kind of like boiling in his blood, and he feels it, but he just can't release it, because he knows it's going to spread.
I would like to ask you about vampires.
Vampires? What about them?
Considering your experience, please tell me what you know.
They are terrible creatures. I have seen and fought many in my time. Foul temptresses with sharp claws and shrieking beaks.
Uh-huh.
I have never seen such a creature. What are you talking about?
Of course you've never seen a creature like them. Vampires are deadly, swift and implacable.
Where did you encounter such creatures?
The last time I saw one was in a Celtic temple near Salisbury.
Oh.
A terrible and god-forsaken place full of ghosts and pestilence.
Yeah, I can see where that could be cool too to explore, but...
Can we speak about the Morrigan?
The Red Queen. What of her?
You met her, did you not?
Just once. But she never ceased to sing to me. I love her song. It is a song of blood and war. I only wish she would sometimes let me rest.
I'm imagining that when she sings, it's kind of like the Witcher 3's theme song. Like, I'm just thinking that sounds like a song for, like, war and blood, in a way. It's like an enchanting kind of song, but it sounds very energizing in a weird way at the same time.
Do you know who she is?
I don't want to discuss this in front of my sweet Elizabeth.
Why?
For a time, she too could hear the red song. The steps she danced to its melody brought pain upon the world.
Ah, totally forgot. They did mention how male vampires can't hold on for long because they will get destroyed by the whole Red Queen bloodline. So the reason why William Marshall is cursed and infected in a way is because his blood can't handle the Red Queen's blood anymore. So he's gotten to the point where he can't survive any further, or that he can't do anything any further. While Elizabeth can handle it because she herself is a woman, and so the Red Queen only can operate better with a woman carrier versus a male. So I think that maybe William Marshall was just the sort of like anomaly in that whole lineage of people who got infected by the Red Queen's blood.
Do you remember Myrddin, your maker?
Only God is my maker, for he created everything on this earth. He blessed me with eternal life through his archangel, Michael.
But Myrddin, Michael, is a vampire. He made you a blood-sucking creature of the night.
Blood, yes. I used to drink it from the throats of the unworthy. Then I was punished for my deceit. During my penance, I rely entirely upon my sweet Elizabeth.
Interesting.
Tell me about Elizabeth. How was she infected?
I do not wish to discuss it.
Please, Sir William. I need to know what the blood of hate is. How is it transmitted?
After defeating the disaster in St. Paul's Cathedral, I returned to my retreat, infected. This is where my sweet Elizabeth found me, for she heard my pain from across the sea.
Interesting.
Where is this retreat you mentioned?
In London, under Temple Church, beneath my empty tomb. I always loved to sleep there while listening to the bell above.
What happened then?
The blood of hate had twisted me into a rage-filled man. I attacked my progeny and infected her too. Forgive me, Elizabeth. I failed you.
You bit her again? Is that how she was infected with the disaster's blood? I think I understand now.
Elizabeth fled, and I fell to my knees, begging for forgiveness. I swore I would find a way to make things right.
So yeah, it's basically just fusing his blood with the Red Queen's blood that was left behind due to the injury created by the witch. And that's why he infected Elizabeth. Elizabeth has the antidote in her blood, but it doesn't mean that the antidote will transfer with that blood alongside to the next person who gets infected by Ashbury's blood. That makes a lot of sense. Got it.
How did you meet Elizabeth?
Times were tough. I had awakened to protect the land from a new plague. I heard her sing for her dead family. Singing for her death to come. I chose to save her.
When was that?
It was so long ago. A few years after Elizabeth of England and Catherine of France established their alliance against Spain.
That sounds like 1200 something maybe?
What did you do?
I raised her as my progeny. After she left to see the world, I rebuilt her deceased parents' inn. Owned it as William Thorne for a time. Those were good years.
Interesting.
Did you really sacrifice yourself to save her?
That was the only righteous path. The blood of hate made me betray her. I am at peace here. I can think about what I've done and how I failed.
Do you not want to be cured?
No. This hunger is mine. I would feel empty without it. It has been part of me for so long. All I want is quiet. Silence.
You agreed to be confined here, then?
Yes. Once I was sure she was cured, I asked to be locked down here. I deserve it. The world needs it.
Interesting. Alright, let's continue this.
We could set you free. Let you out. Isn't that what you want?
No.
I pray for the day I'll see the sky again. I have all but forgotten its colors. I could walk and do so many things beneath the stars. But I doubt it will be wise to release me.
Then will you stay here and repent?
Elizabeth told me it will not be long now. I cannot wait to feel the sweet caress of her hand on my cheek after so long as she releases me.
She's gonna kill him because she needs to.
Has the time come?
Yes.
Yes, Father.
Why not unleash me then? To see the sky a final time.
You already are the sky, and all its stars.
I'm not defeated, for I welcome the sword you bear, for it is mine.
You were never defeated, my lord.
Yeah, he was never defeated to begin with. He just was in an unfortunate state, I guess I'd say. Wow, we actually have to see his head fall off.
Farewell, Father.
That's insane. I didn't anticipate seeing his head roll over on the floor.
And to you also, Jonathan.
What?
What do you mean?
She's gonna...
I can't stand what I've become. This healthy carrier, as you put it.
She's gonna burn herself, isn't it?
The flames will purify the poison that runs in my veins.
No! I won't allow this to happen.
I am death, Jonathan. Wherever I go, I can't stand it.
I am Dr. Jonathan Reed.
Yes, we know
Champion
that.
of Murden. Chosen to save England from the vampire epidemic. I could cure you.
What do you mean?
We are creatures of blood, Elizabeth. Everything about us is in our blood. With time, I could perfect the antidote William Marshall gave you. Trust me, for time is on our side.
I'm a doctor, damn it. Greatest excuse ever. Just
That
stop
is a
somebody.
risk I cannot take, Jonathan. I won't bring another such disaster into this world.
Elizabeth, no. Trust me. I can save you.
How could I trust you, Jonathan? How could I take such a chance?
I'll stay here with you then. As long as we must, until I find a cure.
You have no idea what you're talking about, Jonathan. Despite his madness, William was strong enough to starve for centuries. I doubt we can do the same.
We will lock ourselves down then. I'll get all the material I need and I'll perform my research here with you until you're cured.
Are you mad? Who would take care of us? Who would free us if it takes decades or even more?
Old Bridget will take care of us.
Oh, right, that's true. Old Bridget
You are
didn't die.
serious, aren't you? You really are ready to do this.
Oh, you thinking I'm that stupid? Come on, damn it.
I love you, Elizabeth. I can do this. Please, stay with me.
I believe you. This is crazy, but I believe you, Jonathan.
Wait, is it gonna fade out to the credits and that's it for the game? I'm wondering if there's an alternative ending. I wonder if there is another ending to this besides that one, but like where if you ruin the whole, like if you choose to destroy the whole Pembroke,
One
London.
prayer for the summoned, called by this song. Child born from darkness, whose path he must find. Now the song is sung, and your path chosen.
Oh,
England is safe, for you have prevailed. I bid you farewell, my champion, bittersweet. You found yourself a newer quest, and so I leave you to it.
wait, how
My
does the
queen sleeps once again, and I'll soon join her slumber, until alas she rises, woken by the hunger never fed.
how the hell was there a computer in the castle right off the bat? Oh, achievement, a taste for blood. Completed the game. Achievement unlocked. All right, so that's Vampire. Alright, I'm gonna hopefully get this down in like a few minutes, hopefully, because we're literally on the 30-minute mark now. Alright, I want to first state this because this was kind of the thing that I saw at the ending of the game, and I was just like, oh, this is something I'm curious about that I sometimes think about in the back of my head a lot. And that is the concept of love. The ending of the game with the idea that William, or not William, the idea that Jonathan and Elizabeth, or Ashbury, both fall in love, and they just, you know, come to this point where they're like, they're gonna love each other to the end, trying to figure out how to cure this whole vampire plague situation. That is such a tricky thing to do. I don't feel like the romance was well deserved or was really interesting. I've played games with romance in them. I've played, spoiler alert for Assassin's Creed Unity. If you haven't played that game, I do apologize. But if you don't want to hear it, mute for like about, I don't know, 10 seconds, 20 seconds. Or skip forward 10 to 20 seconds starting now. In Assassin's Creed Unity, the two main characters, the female and the woman, I forgot, the female and the male protagonist, actually do love each other. They kind of created a romance to that story. So I think that that was one of those main things that I started thinking about it. I was just like, if games have romance in them between a person and a person, doesn't matter what type of person they are or who they are, it makes me feel like there's this there needs to be a way to create a genuine connection with the player, I think, and it's hard to see that. I think romance in games work best when it was like in Mass Effect, or if not Mass Effect, then maybe like Baldur's Gate 3 is a better example these days, because it's more of like a freedom to romance characters. But I think that they're still kind of shallow in a way, because they feel it feels hard to know like the senses of the stuff. I think maybe like looking at or examining a visual novel to see how it feels different compared to a game with action, a lot of RPG stuff in it, that makes me think like, okay, romance might be a little bit different, but it has to feel a certain way. I think that it's a hard thing to look for in a game where romance is like very worthwhile to explore in a game, or at least added into the game to make it seem less like out of place, I guess, or very shallow in a way. But yeah, because I don't see them doing a lot of romantic scenes with the two, that it just feels kind of weird, and it's like a weird add-in to the point where they're both willing to sacrifice whatever they can to get each other to continue to be together, in a sense, which is fine, I guess. People and couples tend to try to sacrifice what they can to make sure that they both are still with each other, in a sense, which makes sense. But anyways, point is, this is Vampyr. That's the end of this series, the end of this game. I'm not going to replay it to see what the other alternative ending is. I'm pretty sure there might be an alternative ending based on what I do. Like, if I was super evil and bad of a vampire, like killing the whole city and letting the play continue on, I think that the scene would have played out a little bit differently. I'm thinking is the case. I don't know if that's the case yet, but that was the case with what that was. But I'm going to start off with the bad. It's a really hard game to talk about, because it's like, I feel like this game is still mixed in my mind. I think in the last episode I said that it was mixed in my mind. Like, there's a weird sense of like good and bads to this game, I think. But starting off with the bad was the fact that the combat wasn't interesting to me. The combat was like, I think that if I was to play it with all the other abilities unlocked, maybe the game would have run differently for me, and I would have felt more like interested in how the combat works. But judging from playing it with less abilities, it was much more tougher. But none of the abilities really appealed to me. Like, I didn't feel like the abilities was like screams out like, this is an ability you would want, Roz, take me. Like, it didn't feel like that. It just felt like they were just there to kind of serve as a sort of like heavy stationary style like thing. Like, lunge was the only thing that it looks like it was more like a more quick moving pace of an ability to attack enemies and stuff like that. It felt like there was not much of an interesting stuff going on either ways for how combat worked. Weapon crafting was kind of shallow as hell. I just wish the weapon crafting was more intricate. Like, you can break down the weapons to maybe satisfy one weapon overall, because I feel like the options are there, but the problem is like I ended up never using the other stuff. I've only just crafted things because I was just like, screw it. Since I have materials, like even materials started becoming useless, and shillings became worse used because shillings was like so abundant, but yet their only good use was just to buy materials I need to upgrade some stuff. But I end up not upgrading anymore after a while, and so it just became useless overall. It was really bad. And so I think the gameplay in itself was serviceable, but pretty shallow, and it was like a really sad thing. And it felt very weighty. Like everything felt very heavy. Like when I dodge enemies, it doesn't feel as satisfying. It feels kind of like heavy, and then when I move, it's really heavy. If I want to run past something, stamina gets used rather quickly. It really did try to approach this combat to be more like Dark Souls-ish. And I mean, I've played a lot of different combat games from speedy and from speed type games like Devil May Cry, Nier Automata, and some other like well-known like games that I like, and I play fighting games too, so I know that I've seen some games that are like, they're heavy stuff and there's like light, fast-paced moving, and I felt like the game didn't have a good balance in that sense, I guess, but it felt very weighty, very heavy a lot of the times. And like when enemies try to attack you, you're trying to get to it, but it's like you can't cover the distance fast enough sometimes. So that kind of felt like a slight disappointment sometimes, where you're just like getting overwhelmed as well. And I think encounters were a little bit overwhelming sometimes when you're weak. It just didn't work really well. And so I had to always use shield to just protect myself, to give myself a chance to close the gap against the enemies. And I didn't get shield up until halfway point, I think. So that made it even worse, that I had to struggle with a lot of the fights up until the point where I finally upgraded the blood shield that just saved my butt from a lot of fights. Even the final fight with the Harriet Jones and Red Queen, the blood shield was like the best thing to use in that fight. So that was just like my one in saving ability that I needed. Story was kind of okay, I think. I will leave that more on the good side a little bit more, but I think choices were really poor. I think I said this like a few times in the series, that this game tries its best to force the player to be evil, to try to kill as much people, turn everything hostile, because that's where all the amounts of XP is at. All your XP is literally in the states of trying to kill people and embrace them all. It's just like, why? Well, why? Because at the same time, if you do that, you shut down all the characters' stories. Like if you were like, I just need the XP right now, and you embrace that person, you no longer get to interact with that person, I do think, because they no longer provide you the same XP of finding out who they are, etc., etc. Like they just don't have any interesting parts to it if you shut down the whole story. And I feel like it's a disservice in the story that's being written than to provide it with more stories and more interesting stuff going on. So I think that the player options to do it their way, do the player's way in terms of like how to handle the city, is kind of shallow too. And I wish they didn't actually went with having to be a good vampire and a bad vampire. I think that this game could have been better off either being full bad or full good, and I think that would have been more serviceable than to force it to be two, because they have to write like double the dialogues, I bet, because they have to make sure that what happens if somebody chooses to do one way, and they have to make sure that the other person will have to write the other thing for the other way. So there would be so much writing to do, a lot of dialogues to read, a lot of things to like cram in to make sure that both a good player and a bad player, or a player who wants to be bad and a player who wants to be good, has to be serviceable for both sides of the playthrough. So that kind of sucks a lot from that perspective. So yeah, I just think that the story was pretty shallow, and that the choices are really like meh. Even the dialogue scenes were pretty meh. So sometimes it was just like bad, sometimes it was good. Transitional wise, sometimes I would complain and I would be so jarred. I would be surprised, like, why the hell did they say it like that? It's just like one way and then turns into another thing. It just didn't feel right, it didn't flow right. So that's where I kind of felt like it was weird to me sometimes in some of the dialogue. Maybe the facial capture, the facial motions were very bland, made the performance really like hard to connect with. But that's kind of whatever to me because I can play through it. But I feel like it disconnects in my mind when I see the facial animation where they're stiff face, like they have such a stiff face. I'm just like, I don't feel the emotion. I'm hearing it. I'm hearing the emotions. I just can't see it in their face. So it sometimes sucks a little bit. But there was I think there's a lot to it that could be improved, I think, in this capacity for sure, for the game, in terms of like dialoguing and stuff like that. But there was a lot of dialogue for sure. For sure, there's a lot of dialogue. A lot of side content as well, I think, which I don't think is a bad thing. It's an okay thing. I think it services to help the player get faster and level up if they're playing the good side, I guess. But otherwise, it's just whatever to me. But yeah, that's all the bad I think I can say. I don't have anything against the music. I haven't heard much of the music. Art, I think, is kind of okay. I think the problem was the tone. A lot of the city's tone of color is gray, brown, black, like dark lighting. Like, it was really always just muddy color looking places. But I think it's only because it's just at nighttime that you barely see it. When I got out of the when we finally got to see the castle in the last part of this game, it was just like it was like very beautiful. Finally, we get to see some kind of form of color that was nicer than just some dark, muddy looking spaces, which I liked a lot. That it finally broke out of that space for once to just give us a more healthy color of something, which is funny because I'm looking at healthy carrier as the continue button. So that's where I kind of feel like the art kind of and level design was kind of meh. Sad that they don't let you teleport everywhere. That's another sad thing for it, for being bad, I think. It's just a limitation to teleporting around the spaces for platforms and stuff like that was pretty iffy on my end for how I feel about it. But yeah, that's all the bad. For the good, I think there's just a very simple story going on here. I think it's just having to influence the city is an interesting concept on paper. I think execution-wise was pretty okay. I think the idea of a system to build off of like conversations to fighting enemies on the streets to the different type of enemy variety is pretty nice, I think. Though I think that some of them were a little bit harder to read or harder to handle. But I think over time it gets easier. I think the infectious type of vampires were a little bit annoying. I don't think they were needed, honestly. That was just kind of like annoyance that just never seems to like make any sense to me. I get why it's part of the narrative, but it's just like doesn't work easily with the combat as much, and sometimes it's just you never know how like you will not know until you start losing or dying that you're like, oh, the infection really does just take out your health a lot. So I kind of felt like that's why the infection felt very useless, because it's just like, it's there to just annoy the hell out of the player. Difficulty would be higher with it, but it's just annoyance mostly than difficulty. Yeah, and that's a good thing though, but a good thing part of it is just the variety of enemies. I think the choice being there is great. I think even though I disagree with some of the choices that were available, I still like the idea that the game was exploring choice in creating the world similar to like Dishonored, where if you do good things happen, and less bad things happen, etc. Like I like player choicing in games like these kind of thing, though I think it's a little unexplanatory sometimes. Sometimes the text would not explain, like it's going to give you the worst thing or the best thing. Instead you have to make the choices based on how you think or perceive based on how they write it, that you were like, okay, I'm choosing this because it might be a good thing. Sometimes it does that, sometimes it doesn't. But it's what that is, I think. I think the size of the game is pretty nice too. It has a lot going for it, but the problem I think is that it feels like a slog a little bit if you're trying to go through everything. But I think that is still good because of the size of it, can keep you in the game for a while, if you like what's going on in the game, of course. Though it feels, the levels feel very empty. A lot of encounters, but it feels very empty of NPCs. I think that was one of the complaints I brought up in another past video, where I was like, why isn't there enough people walking in the streets? Like, why does it have to be a mandatory characters you can talk to kind of situation, and not have like random NPCs walk the streets and bump into and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's the only things I could say about this game that was good enough for me. I think it's a decent game. I don't think it's like the worst thing around. I think there's just a lot of interesting parts. On paper, it felt like when I'm seeing them, it feels like they were great on paper, but when they were put all together, it felt like the execution just didn't work out the way that it should have, because of how much there was going on, and there was just too much tabs to keep tab of, that people were like probably was too bloated with a lot of stuff to think about, and seeing how the consequences played out was kind of like a little bit difficult for players to probably see, I think. But yeah, I think that this game encourages replayability, so if you want to play this game yourself, I'll put links down below in the description box for all the ways you can buy the game and play it for yourself. If you want to play the evil bad vampire that I did not play, go ahead. If you want to see what happens to Clay Cox, if you hadn't embraced that freaking guy at the beginning, I'll leave that link to the game for you to pick up and try it out. I don't know if it's on the Game Pass. I won't mention if it's Game Pass or not, because sometimes I'll never know, because I don't use the Game Pass. I buy the games myself on Steam and stuff like that, or consoles, and that would be pretty much the case of whatever. But yeah, I'll leave those links down below in the description box, and you can check them out if you want to try it out for yourself. I say that I enjoyed my time with Vampyr. I don't think this game is the worst thing around. I do think that there were a lot of bad parts that I really wished could have changed or improved, and I wish to see maybe a future Vampyr sequel. Maybe I don't know if I don't know if it deserves one, but I feel like it could get one, considering how much world building there is. A lot of the world building is nice, I think, but I think it's just muddled with such storytelling that it just made me not think about the other stuff that might have been for this game. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this game. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in another game or another series of mine. So hope you guys have a great, amazing day, good night, or whatever watching this. Next game we're going to jump into will be another game, maybe another narrative game. I realize I've been looking at a lot more focus entertainment games, but that's because there's a lot of them that I just haven't played before, and I just genuinely am curious. The next game I'm playing after this one won't be one of them, I think, but maybe the other is focus entertainment related, publishing wise, I think. But I'll try my best to just get through as much of these kind of games. I want to see these like mostly positive mixed games sometimes here and there. I want to try like jumping into those kind of games that I never really thought about trying before until now. So it's nice to kind of take a weird, refreshing route of like games I don't really often see on like the highest of people's top tier lists, and just kind of look for the middle pile of some sort every now and then. Yeah, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one or in another series. Yeah, Roz out.